So we've seen what these changes are, and you can tell from the list, most of these changes are draft, beta, alpha type options, non-default options. So if you're running just a regulatory default model run with AERMOD 19191 or even AERMET 19191 for reprocessing your metadata, there's not a lot of formulation changes there. And so it's very simple to go in, drop the new executable into our interface and start running with those in case you don't really need to use some of these new model options just yet. And I wanted to take a minute to demonstrate how that can be done. So I'm going to start with AERMET View. Here is AERMET View, the current release version 9.7.1. And by default, under the File Preferences menu, we list the version of the model that's being used. AERMET.exe correlates to the most recent version of AERMET at the time that the software was released. So in this case, it was the 18081 model version. And you can see you can choose from 32-bit and 64-bit executables. If you've already downloaded the new AERMET.exe from the US EPA, you can come in here to User Specified and search your computer for that new release. So I click on the Open button there, and then I go to the location on my computer where I have saved this executable. It's helpful if you number the executable. So the default name for it will just be AERMET.exe when you extract it and or download it and extract it from the EPA's website. It would be helpful to add that version number to it though. I've added underscore 19191 and then underscore 32 and 64 for the two different bit depths. And so if I select AERMET 19191 underscore 64 as my executable, this is now the AERMET executable I'll be using in my model run. I can open up a simple tutorial project then. The existing run used version 18081. If I select the option to rerun my model, it tells me that the model version is user specified. I know it's 19191. I select run and successfully now shows my version as 19191. So that's it. I've updated my AERMET project for the new AERMET executable. Because those changes to the model were all just bug fix based, there weren't new model options to apply, it's a very simple thing to do immediately. Now switching gears over to AERMOD View, it's a very similar process. I open up the current version, AERMOD View version 9.7.1, go to the File menu, and from Preferences, I select AERMOD from the EPA Models Limits menu, and the default model, AERMOD.exe, is 18081, but under my user specified option, I can search my computer and pull up the version of the newer version of AERMOD. Again, number the executable just to make it a little easier on yourself so you know what is what. Here I'm opening AERMOD 19191, the 64-bit depth. So now I'll be running 19191. Open up a sample project, double check my metadata. Under the MET pathway, we see here that the version is 19191 because I reprocessed that metadata in AERMET already. And then I can come and run my model to see the result changes with the new 19191 version. Again, because this is a regulatory default model option setup, I don't really anticipate any significant changes to my output between this version and the previous release 18081. If I were running a non-default set of model options, I may see some additional changes that would further impact the concentrations. And so that model just runs in the background. When it is complete, we can open up the AERMOD output file, and it would tell us that the AERMOD version is 19191, the AERMET version is 19191. The other way to utilize 19191 in the current interface is to go through the Batcher interface. If you're not familiar with Batcher, it allows you to set up to schedule a series of existing AERMOD input files so that you can run them all in sequence. So if you're leaving the office, say at the end of the working day, and you want to run a series of model runs to perform overnight, you can set up those list of AERMOD input files using the Add Input Files button here. I'm already pointing to an example directory on my computer drive, which is just a series of test runs from the EPA for the AERMOD modeling system. So I could define these 4 input files, and these will then just run in sequence. Now I'm currently pointing to AERMOD View's default AERMOD.exe executable up here from the drop-down list. If I want to add an additional version of AERMOD or a different version of AERMOD, I can come to the Browse button over here to the side, and it lists all of the different AERMOD ISC3 and ISC-PRIME executables I could select from. I'm going to choose Add Executable, and I'm going to go then back to my AERMOD folder where I will define this AERMOD 19191. So now I can select that from the drop-down, and I can perform these runs then using the new AERMOD 19191. What's nice about this, beyond just the ability to schedule my model runs, is that I can also use this to manually modify AERMOD input files to incorporate some of these new options. So I have this airtest.inp file, for example, and I can open that up in WordPad or Notepad, whatever my text editor of choice is, and I can come in here and manually modify this so that I could incorporate any of these new model options that I wanted. If I wanted to look at some of the new downwash options, I could come in and say this is going to be an alpha model option run, and I'm going to use the ORD DWNW with the ORDUF, for example, something like that. And then I could just save that. And now because I've made those manual modifications to this input file, when I go back to Batcher and I'm running the new 19191 executable, it's going to step through and it's going to account for those new model options in that model input file. So that's a way that you can start to take advantage of these new 19191 model options already just by downloading that executable, plugging it into Batcher, and modifying your own input files. So you can already jump in and start using these new executables right away, or you can come in and wait for the new AERMOD View. And in this new release, we'll be incorporating these new 19191 models, both in AERMET View and in AERMOD View, incorporating that new draft BPIP-PRIME as well. We will have the R-line feature with the new downwash options and some of these new alpha updates as well. The R-line XT source is still in development within the interface, so there's a chance we may be doing a 2-pronged release, one that has R-line and then an additional one later that will have the R-line XT source incorporated. We'll have the new AERMOD MPI executable that so many of you know and love, and that'll be a part of this upcoming release with some additional new features and the usual minor updates and fixes that we apply to all of our releases. One other thing that I did want to make mention of is upcoming on October 2nd and 3rd, the EPA is hosting the 12th Conference on Air Quality Modeling. As you can tell, most of the updates to AERMET and AERMOD here are non-regulatory options, and that was done on purpose because of this upcoming 12th modeling conference. At this conference, as it says on the EPA website, the purpose of it is to provide an overview of the latest features of the currently preferred air quality models and to provide a forum for public review and comment on potential revisions to the way the agency determines and applies the appropriate air quality models in the future. So this meeting is extremely important. It only happens about every 3 to 4 years that we are able to get together like this and provide this feedback directly to the US EPA on a series of model options ranging from things like plume rise to the treatment of low wind conditions, mobile source modeling, overwater modeling, prognostic metadata use, NO2 modeling techniques. There's going to be a whole lot of options discussed in these 2 days. For more information, you can go to the EPA's website. You see it there on the screen. The agenda is there, a pre-registration form is there, and additional information. So I hope that you're all able to attend, as I will be there, and hope to see you there. So that's it for our overview of these AERMOD modeling changes. I hope you learned something today, and I hope you'll be on the lookout for that update to AERMOD View coming here in the next couple weeks. If you do have any questions for our sales team or inquiries into your maintenance status on AERMOD View, please email our sales team, sales@weblakes.com. And if you have any technical questions, please feel free to email support@weblakes.com, including if you have any questions about how to apply these new model versions into the existing interface. If you want to go ahead and get that started, we already have an archived modeling tip we can share with you that provides step-by-step instructions on how to conduct that, and we can provide additional information for you.